Good morning and welcome to the Brightline Podcast. My name is Morgan Cole. I am your host today. It is Tuesday, June 2nd at 10:50 a.m. and I've got Gerod Rush joining me in the studio this morning to talk about Rentlyzer. I know that I've been a broken record talking about that for a while and no one thinks it's real, but it is finally real. And it's not going away. We have a lot of progress made on that, a lot of hardware running it, a lot of reliability, and I'm excited. So anyway, we're going to get started here, and I'm going to finally show you guys what it can do, and Jared's going to use it and talk to me about it, and we're going to get going.
Do it.
You're listening to the Brightline Podcast, where we talk about investment real estate, business, and many other interesting topics. Brought to you by Brightline Property Management. Brightline Property Management is a professional residential property management company located in the Woodlands, Texas, serving the northern Houston area. Additionally, brought to you by Rentlyzer, the MLS-driven investment home analyzer. Sign up today at brightlinepodcast.com/Rentlyzer. That's RENTLYZER. The Brightline Podcast is produced at Studio 110 in the Woodlands, Texas, the premier studio in the Woodlands. Check out the show's website at brightlinepodcast.com, where you can subscribe, contact, and sign up for our newsletter. That's brightlinepodcast.com. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoy our show. Okay, so let me get Gerod going here with me.
Hello, Twitter world.
Hold on, let me fix that. There we go. So welcome, Gerod.
Welcome, Morgan.
Welcome to
We're
the show.
finally here.
That's right. So I kind of picked up doing the podcast a little bit during the old issue that our country faced in March and April and May, and I did a podcast with Richard Gonzalez from Wings and More.
I remember.
And I did not enjoy that.
No. Devastating news that Wings and More, our favorite location of all time,
is closing.
They're done.
And I decided that I don't have anything to contribute to discussing coronavirus, and I'm not going to.
We don't even need to call it that anymore.
That's right. So I stopped. So anyway, I rebuilt the studio, I think twice since then. It's pretty intense. I mean, it's about the same rig that anybody has ever seen before, but we use a whole new switching system. We created a producer's room over there so we can have a producer, and it's pretty legit. So I'm going to do a studio tour, I think, in a couple of weeks. And I'll show you all what we use to run this thing. We're even offering it for rent now. The guys in the office building here upstairs have used it to do a few webinars. And if you guys are interested in talking to me about renting it out, I'd be happy to do that.
And when Joe Rogan moves to Texas,
yeah, hey Joe,
if he needs a temporary studio,
man, I mean we got you covered. It's I got your mics, I got your cameras.
Same wall covering too.
Same wall covering.
Basically the same flags. Although I will say I had that flag before Joe Rogan had that flag, so he copied me.
Yeah, I think Joe copied Gerod.
Yeah.
They're close friends.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I listen to him every day.
Yeah, they're close friends.
No, just kidding.
So, but anyway, all right. Well, so the purpose of this one today is to prove that Rentlyzer is alive.
Okay, so let me hit you with a bunch of questions, and as a real estate investor that I would be seeking out to have the software answer for me. So first of all, let's just say, what do you say it does here?
What exactly do you do here? So Rentlyzer is a
30-second nutshell
investment home analyzer for anyone who is a novice investor to an absolute professional, you own 100 houses investor. It will provide you every metric that anybody has ever used to analyze investment real estate. It will give you an analysis including every type of expense, income, rent escalation, expense escalation, things that you might not even consider. Provides a realistic, real-world picture of the financial performance of a house. And very shortly, very, very soon, we're going to add features such as filtering by school ratings from greatschools.org and filtering from a couple of other things. So not only does it do financial analysis, but if you're also concerned about hey, look, like I know I would be happy with a house that's anywhere within this 20-mile diameter, but I don't want to figure out where the good elementary schools are. So as long as I'm not going to have to invest more than $50,000 and the elementary school is a 7 or higher, give me the house.
So, why is your analysis? What qualifies you to analyze properties like this?
Well,
Loaded question. I know the answer because
yeah.
it's helped me buy a huge portfolio of real estate over the years. But why? Tell the people.
So I have a couple of real estate designations that are difficult to get. One of them is called CCIM, which is Certified Commercial Investment Member, which is the gold standard for investment real estate analysis and valuation. And they actually invented a couple of metrics that the whole investing universe uses to evaluate real estate. So by taking all their courses and going through the education program and submitting the qualifying portfolio of experience and becoming a CCIM, I've learned the proper way of analyzing these things, and it's really from a commercial setting though. That's not a lot of times applied to $165,000 rental houses.
Right. But you also tell, just back it up a notch. Your property management company manages multiple residential houses and knows what it takes to run a property. So we're not guessing at this.
That's
we
right.
have real world data that shows we're not just throwing spaghetti against the wall and hoping it sticks.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, I mean we're basically we're saying, okay, whether it's a $10 million shopping center or a $100,000 house, I mean you want to know what the IRR is, you want to know what the cap rate is, you want to know what the cash on cash return is. Well, I'm here to tell you that in a house, those things, an offering broker for a commercial property like a shopping center or an office building is going to say, this is the operating income, these are the operating expenses, and you're going to be able to deduce what it should be.
But you got to guess.
There's a lot of
those numbers, and you got to put them out over time, and you got to guess.
That's what you do. You have to receive the information though. So the point I'm making though is that nowhere on the MLS does anyone even provide to you what the historical maintenance has been on a house.
Right.
No one provides to you what the janitor costs. No one provides to you what the insurance costs.
Right.
Our software goes and it says, I mean, you're not probably going to have a janitor in your rental house, but I mean, you're going to have other cleaning and make-ready fees. And so we say, okay, we run a property management company. We've managed a lot of real estate for over 10 years. We use our historical income and expense fee details that we have from real-world applications. We built a financial model, programmed it into our software, and now you can pull up a house and it'll say, hey, I know statistically this house should cost this much to insure. Yeah, you can change that, but to search, we have to make assumptions.
Right.
The only way that you can search through 30,000 houses that are active on the market and figure out which 9 of them meet your criteria is if we provide assumptions for how much it's going to cost for maintenance, how much vacancy is going to cost you.
So the software is designed to be driven off the MLS. Explain to everyone what the MLS is, and furthermore, why your software is different because of the integration with MLS.
So there's the MLS is the multiple listing service, and there are MLSs across the United States. Houston Association of Realtors (HAR) happens to be one of the largest in the United States. And when your realtor lists a house for you for sale, they go to the MLS, the entry system, and they type in all the info and the beds and the bath and the address and all that stuff, and it goes out into a database system. Our servers communicate with the MLS servers, and they download that data multiple times a day. And they get all the houses that are on the Houston MLS multiple times a day. And then they run some back-end stuff that figures out what school matches with it, and then what's the school rating, and then some other stuff.
Back-end stuff. Hold on. Machine learning. You are running machine learning, legitimate AI integrated technology to make your software be as smart as possible.
I mean, I should point that out. I mean, so basically, part of what took Rentlyzer so long to get to this point was
you wanted it better.
I wanted it better.
Yeah.
Part of it was for 3 months last year, I was sick.
Right.
I was not around. And so what happened was, I wanted it to be as good as possible. And the biggest issue that we have had, and I think any realtor would tell you, that automated valuation systems are not great.
No.
people take them for black and white answers, and people love to make fun of Zillow. I see it on realtor groups, and people talk about it all the time. They're like, oh, well, Zillow says it's worth $250,000, and
Right.
they're $50,000 or $100,000 off. They could be, even at a small house like that.
And those software models are, if you're based off bad data, you're going to get bad answers. And
That's right.
And speaking from someone who has bought real estate with Morgan as an investment, I can tell you that we have gone to banks and big deals, large deals, and they have looked at our analysis and they're like, whoa, wait a second. Who are you guys?
Yeah.
How do you, why is, this is the longest analysis we've ever seen, but it's concise enough that you can understand it. And now you've taken that model and you have integrated your, I guess you could call it secret sauce or your recipe with the MLS.
So that's exactly right. I mean, I like to overdo things. That's
Right.
not a secret. No. And so, basically when we take that, $10 million quality analysis that Citibank is looking for or even not expecting but happy to have,
Right.
and we put that on a house, and not only do we put it on a house, but I'm willing to do that for 1,000 houses and analyze those houses in 30 seconds for you and give you the answer.
Right.
But you were talking about the back end of machine learning. So, yeah, there's not probably a computer today that's engaged in evaluating real estate anyway that can do it as perfect as a human. But what we are continuously working on is gathering as many data points as possible about every house that has already leased out or sold in our area that we're covering to figure out what it is that makes those houses worth what they're worth.
Right.
So whether it's the elementary school rating or the middle school rating or
the things you don't see on paper sometimes, this one's here versus that one's there, and on paper they both look the same, but one's selling for more, you don't understand why.
You don't understand. And there's actually stuff like first floor area versus second floor area.
Right.
You might have a house that's 2 stories but only 500 square feet upstairs and 2,000 downstairs. Well,
Right.
we're learning how that comes into play
Houses
rather
are
than
worth
just
more.
rather than just saying, oh, it's a 2-story house.
Or
Well,
stacked on top of each other.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I lived in a house, the first house I lived in is a great house, it's a duplex. The garage was on the first floor and all the bedrooms are upstairs.
Right.
So the improved area, the air-conditioned area on the first floor is less than the second floor.
Right.
I would argue that probably is a lower value than one that was the other way around.
Flip-flop, right.
So we're using things like that. We're working on gathering proximity to certain geographic things. We're just trying to make it as good as possible. And
Great.
also, I will point out that because I do not profess that we'll ever be 100% accurate, what we're doing is we're giving you, when you'll see this will roll out in a couple of weeks, when it gives you the rental rate, when it predicts it, it'll give you a predicted rental rate, but then it's also going to give you what we call our 90% confidence range,
Right.
which is going to say, okay, even though our best guess is $1,783,
It's going to be plus or minus this.
plus or minus blank, whatever it is. I mean, whatever it is, if it's $1,000 either direction, which it won't be, but I'm going to tell you, I am 90% sure or 95% sure that this thing's going to rent between this range and this range.
So as an investor, I can go then purchase that home. I can search through your software for active MLS listings.
Mm-hmm.
I can say, I want to buy a rental home. I'm tired of owning my own home. But at the same time, I want to own real estate investment property or whatever the case may be. So you know what? I'm going to take this equity in my home, or I'm going to sell my home. I'm going to get the money somehow, some way, and then I'm going to buy rental property that is already listed on the MLS as a single family normal dwelling, and I'm going to find a tenant with your management company or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to turn it into a rental property.
That's exactly what we are here to do for you.
Okay.
And also, I mean, we're really heavily engaged in development right now and fixing some things. And I will say we're also working on off-market houses. So there's not a lot to search for in off-market houses.
No.
I mean, if they're off-market, they're off-market.
You're guessing.
But if you know that, say, your neighbor is selling their house and you're like, man, I think that might be a sweet rental, we're going to set our system
not
up.
on the market
It's
yet.
not on the market yet. So we're going to set it up to where you could type in an address. In our software, we currently have 1.8 million houses in our database, whether they're active or not active. And it'll say, hey, that's Harrison, Montgomery County. So that's not even the whole state of Texas. But it's going to say, yeah, hey, we found this house on our database. Is this the house you were looking for? And you'll say yes, and it'll say, okay, bang, here's an analysis of this house. Even though it's not listed, we can still tell you about the house.
Still tell you if you bought it, what it would rent for, what the repairs would be,
Mm-hmm.
what your return of your investment would be.
That's exactly right. And we'll suggest to you what we think it's worth to sell and rent for. But then because you're typing it in and you're not searching, it's not like it's going to exclude it if it doesn't meet certain pricing criteria. It's just going to say, hey, here's the house. We think it would sell for $300,000 and we think it would rent for $2,200 or $2,500. And you can say, well, I think I could buy it from my neighbor for $280.
Right.
And you could also type in, well, I want to spend $25,000 fixing it up.
So 2 more minutes before we get into you actually using it. You've told me what it does. Tell me why you're different.
So yeah, I mean, real estate analysis is not like new. I'm not the first person to analyze real estate. There are a few other platforms that will allow you to analyze real estate online, houses online. One of them has a horrible financial model, which is way biased to encourage sales. They have extremely unrealistic growth rates and appreciation. Like they'll get on there and they'll say that a house is going to appreciate 6.5% per year for the first several years.
Not going to happen.
I mean, I don't know where that does happen
Maybe
in the U.S.
Year one, if you buy a smoking deal like a fixer-upper or whatever, but
could be
not over time.
Right. So they're just putting things out there for people who are looking to a software that's real glitzy and shiny, that looks impressive, that can become an authority because of its look.
Right.
And the software is coming back and it's saying, well, I think it's going to go up 6.5% per year.
I got to buy this house.
Yeah. And I'm saying, no, not in Houston, Texas.
Right.
So first of all, our financial model is not biased. I don't care what house you buy. I am not trying to make one house look better than another house. I'm trying to provide a level playing field.
Well, and yours searches the entire MLS versus a lot of these services, they have what's called pocket listings, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So the pocket listings are, hey, come by our house that we represent, and here's why this house is better, and this house we think will perform this numbers. You're just like, I don't care if you buy this house, that house, pink house, blue house, white house, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You're not invested in the house. You're trying to provide a tool for your clients to take the entire available inventory.
That's exactly right.
Wrap it up in a bow and say, this is the house I want to buy.
So that's exactly right. And basically, we have the same style analysis on every house. We have the same assumptions as far as expense ratios. I mean, they're percentage based. We're not saying it's $1,000 a year to maintain every house. We're saying it's a percentage. But I'm not trying to fluff the numbers one direction or the other to
bias the houses
a house
that we have in our back pocket that we want you to buy.
That's right. So
like these other services.
So there's that, and then there's also searching, and I'll show you. Like I was using a couple of the other ones recently, and I was trying to compare some features, and I was like, wait a second. They don't actually have a search function. Right. Like I can tell it a city that I'm interested in.
But address,
almost nothing else.
No school, no bedrooms, no. Hey, I only want to buy 1-stories, or I only want to be, because that you
can't do it.
Nothing.
You can tell it I'm interested in Houston and I want high quality neighborhoods.
That's crap.
But you can't tell it other stuff.
That's so broad. It's not even funny. Like Houston is so diverse, and I wouldn't want a rental in certain parts of town, just as like if it's. Whatever the case may be, but I also wouldn't want it in other parts of town because I know that maybe the growth is headed that way or whatever. There might be upside appreciation.
Right.
You need a targeted search, and what you're saying is that your software can not only search everything, but it can also be targeted.
That's exactly right. It can be targeted, and we're going to continue to refine how much you can target things. So
over time, it'll grow into other markets, and before
it will.
It's into Dallas, it's into Austin, it's out of Texas, and it's over the world.
We're connected to HAR, Houston Association of Realtors, right now, and we're connected to Harris and Montgomery County.
Right.
By the end of the year, my plan is to be hooked onto 5 MLSs across Texas.
The scale.
Which will cover. I want to do North Texas, San Antonio, Austin, plus HAR. That's 4, and then I want to look at what covers the Beaumont area. I want to look at what covers Bryan College Station and some other pockets like that.
Right. And
see where we think we should get into. And then also we're going to make our off-market data. So we have to buy data from people.
Right.
I buy data from greatschools.org. I buy data from Atom Data Solutions. I buy data from the MLSs. And right now I don't buy data off market or just property data, which is how I can tell you what the mortgage balance is or how I can tell you stuff like that. I only have Harris and Montgomery County.
So this is a side story. I know we don't want to mention Corona, right? But we'll go ahead and mention it. So anybody can. My wife is gone crazy with baking since Corona has taken off, right? And
Yeah.
she's like, I'm going to make the perfect cookie. And I'm like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it, whatever. And she's been honing and honing and honing and honing to make the perfect cookie, right? The ingredients are the same. All the ingredients are the same. But at the end of the day, it's the process that makes the perfect cookie, right? Whether she's sifting it or baking it or patting it down when she's done or using more of this or more of that.
Or a shiny pan or a dark pan or a thin pan or whatever.
All together to make this cookie, right? And I think you've built like this cookie because anybody can go get this data. Anybody can go purchase data from here, solutions, whatever. But at the end of the day, one, you've built the servers and the hardware, which is insane to run this yourself. And two, you have the recipe.
Yeah.
And not only the recipe, but you know how to make it just like grandma made those cookies, right?
That's right.
And so at the end of the day, your analysis is going to be as factually accurate as possible, but it's also going to take in all the possible ingredients from everywhere to make the perfect cookie.
That's a great simile there that you drew because the houses are the ingredients, but it's did you sift the flour or did you not sift the flour? Other things like that. Was there a room temperature? Did you whatever? We can go into that forever. But basically, we go in and I could get into the nuances of what our software does, and I will at some point, not right now, but there are decisions that you can make on how you use that data.
Right.
And simple thing, like I'll bring one thing up, equity in a house. A lot of people would just look at their house, they would subtract their mortgage, and they'd say, that's my equity.
Right.
Well, there's going to be closing costs when you sell that house.
Sales costs, title policies,
so
make-ready costs.
And what's funny is when I look at some of these other systems, they tell you, oh, you buy a house for $100,000, it goes up by 6% in the first year, it's worth $106,000, and you're going to have paid down a couple of $1,000s on your mortgage. Whatever, you're going to be up $8,000. No, you're going to buy it for $100.
You'd
lose money. You would definitely lose money. So my software will tell you factually, you're going to be underwater in year 1. You might be back to good in year 2, and then year 3 and beyond. On most houses, when I see them, is when you actually have positive equity.
Well, through Corona and all this, I've had a couple friends reach out to me who are in oil and gas or other industries that are taking a hit right now, and they're like, "Hey, teach me about real estate and all these things." What I've told them all when they reach out to me is, hey, this is a long game.
Yeah.
And like people think like I can just jump into it because Mark Twain said always buy land, they'll never make more of it. It's a sure bet, blah, 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 blah. You got to understand when you buy a rental house, it's not going to make money out of the gate.
No.
Odds are.
Right.
You're going to have to feed the beast. It's a true investment. And there will be some cash on cash return, but the appreciation and the upside, the true IRR is down the road.
It is.
So why don't you show people what it is this thing can do?
Okay. So this is Rentlyzer. You get to it by going to right now you go to app.rentlyzer.com. Our informational page is way under construction where it has a login. But you just go to app.rentlyzer.com. A lot of people already have an account, but if you don't have an account, there's a link where you can create an account. What this is providing us right now is a couple of houses that it just auto found in our area that it said, hey, these might interest you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a search because this is what's cool about our software, and I'll show you a couple of different things. So I go up here to searches and I click add search, and it says, how do you want to search? You can draw outlines on a map, enter zip codes, type in a specific MLS number, or a single address. I usually like to do outlines on a map.
Yeah.
So you click that.
You usually know the area. You're like, I'm from Conroe. I want to buy a house in Conroe.
That's right. And so we would go to there. Now I'm just over here in the Tomball Huffsmith area. I'm just going to draw a box around that. I've been finding since 99 came through there. There's interesting new developments and opportunities, and I like that area. So I'm just going to draw kind of a big box right here, and I'm going to click.
Got my house in there.
Did I? Close. Now I'm going to tell this thing. These are pre-filled. You don't have to type all these in. We give you some general criteria, but if you want to tweak this somehow,
that comes pre-populated
Yep.
based off of data that you have from historical transactions.
We can tell you historically that
operations.
Yes, we can tell you historically that maintenance expense is about 7% of gross income. You're going to have years where it's practically zero. I mean, literally a $300,000 house could cost you $82 one year to maintain because all that broke was a toilet fill valve or something like that.
But over time, that AC is going to break and all
Yes.
these other things, and you're amortizing that over the percentage over
the life of the
long haul.
So like you said, it's a long game. So I'm not looking at this as I'm going to own this thing for a couple of years. I'm looking at this as I'm going to own this thing for 8 years, 10 years, 30 years.
Numbers from proven records on real estate that you already own or manage for other investors.
That's exactly right. So I've got a lot of the stuff pre-filled. Now, a couple of these are personal preference. So down payment, I'm going to put 25% down. I'm telling this thing, don't show me a house that I have to invest more than $100,000 into. I'm telling it, don't show me a house that's less than $75,000 or more than $350,000. I'm telling it I want to get positive cash flow. This is my cash on cash return. So give me at least a 1% cash on cash return. And I'm telling it I want at least a 6% internal rate of return. Interest rate, gosh, you'd be able to get better than 4.5.
Probably 3.75.
Yeah, but we're going to get a
4.0.
4% loan for 30 years, and it's going to cost us 2% in loan fees.
What's going to be awesome is when we watch this like 15 years from now, and those interest rates are like
11
or something.
Yes.
We're like, can you believe?
Cheaper to put it on an American Express.
Yeah.
Then we have the things that like assumptions that we have to make, such as your rental growth rate. So over the 10-year time you're going to own this thing, your rental rate's going to go up.
Right.
Over the 10-year time you own this thing, your expenses are going to go up.
But those aren't. I mean, everyone's expenses goes up. There's a cost of living, and
of course,
and rental increases and things like that. 2% is nominal.
And also I'm not biasing this thing to say, oh my gosh, you need to invest in our houses in Houston because we're going to plug in here a 5% rental growth rate. I mean, that would be astronomical.
Yeah.
It would make every house look like the best investment you'd ever seen.
Right.
We have time between tenants. We're saying it's going to be on average 45 days from the time that a tenant stops paying you rent till the time that a new tenant pays you rent.
About average.
You're going to pay 100% of 1 month's rent as a lease commission in this example. You might do things differently, but that's what I'm plugging in. I'm saying that on average, people stay in houses for 2 years.
Right.
So we're putting average length of stay for 2 years. We already talked about maintenance expense. We're saying that on average, it's going to cost 8% of the future value of the house, the future sales price, to sell it. And right now, I'm predicting 2.6% average annual property appreciation. I'm telling it, don't show me houses that are less than 3 bedrooms, less than 2 baths. I want to see them that are 1,500 to 4,000 square feet. And we'll move this to 2002.
You can slide those around however you want it.
You can do whatever you want. And we can go 4, but let's change it to 4 bedroom, 2002 show search results. So now what it's going to do here is it found 142 houses in our little polygon there that met the physical criteria. So the age or the bedrooms or the whatever, it met the physical criteria.
Right.
Now I can see right here, it's kind of grayed out because the focus is on the calculator. But 20 houses of the, so I couldn't tell you how many physically existed there. It was more than 142. But of the ones that were listed, 142 were at least 4 bedrooms built in 2002.
Met your criteria.
Only 20 of those 142 met my economic requirements.
Interesting. Okay.
So the other ones would have been non-performers.
You didn't make the list.
That's right.
Goodbye.
And you find this. We were talking about houses that you've been looking at where something will happen and it's like an HOA expense might be a little out of whack, and that could be the difference between it being a profitable house and a non-profitable house.
Right.
In the beginning, in these first years, you're really only going to make $20, $50, maybe $100 a month on some of these houses when you really consider all the expenses and saving for reserves and stuff.
Over time, as you chip down that mortgage,
they start to get amazing.
And they print money. I mean, one of my mentors owns 30 houses that he's owned since the mid '80s. And they're all paid off.
He kills it.
And he kills it.
Right.
But he wasn't thinking when he got into it, hey, I'm gonna put this money in, I'm gonna take it right back out the next year, and I'm gonna make money every single step along the way. That's not the rental game. It's just not.
I was told by Joe Bird to turn up Gerod's volume.
Turn it up, Joe.
All right, it's up now. I'm sorry about that,
Joe.
So in the multiple rebuilds of the studio, I obviously changed a couple of things. And I need to, sorry to derail us there, but I saw that was Joe's comment, so I wanted to fix
And while we're at it, let's talk about J. Bradley Pools. You can go get a custom pool there with Joe Bird, a lead designer in the area.
There you go. J. Bradley
Free
Pools.
shout out for the mic help, Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. All right, so back to Rentlyzer. So these are the houses that met our criteria. It gives you this cool tile view here, and you can see at a glance. You can see the cover photo from the listing. You can see how much it's listed for. You can see what our software is predicting as the rental rate. You can see what the internal rate of return, and then the total investment would be based on your 25% down payment, so on and so forth. Now, I do want to point out that right now today the production version of the software is not using our latest machine learning values. I think in 2 weeks, the production version of the software will have our latest machine learning values. So when you see rental rates, I am not putting massive confidence in them. We're not publishing our confidence numbers yet, but I'm just telling you that's very, very close to being on the production side of the site. We test that on our development site, but it's not for public consumption. So, I mean, and I just cruise through here and I look at the houses that look good. This one right here, good looking house. I like the fake sunset. So let's hope this guy doesn't get sued for removing a water tower in the backyard. So, we can click on the picture. You can see the house. You can check out this the photos that they uploaded.
It's ironic.
So why
you say
is
that.
there a huge power line right there?
Yep. No, that's exactly okay. No. Side note, guys, if you're a real estate agent,
there's no power lines in the view.
Don't jack your photos.
People have actually gotten sued for this.
Yes.
I was joking because I saw the sky replacement.
No, the sky replacement is a real problem.
I saw one time. I think I've brought this up before where a guy got sued. I think it was an expensive property, but a guy got sued because they proved that it's physically impossible for the sun to ever set like they showed in the photo.
Yeah. No, I mean, people buy like lake houses and things like that based off the sunset. So if you're moving the sun.
Right.
And then you're buying the property from out of state, sight unseen, whatever. Like that's fraud.
I always think, I know you don't watch The Office, but I always think of this episode where Pam draws a sketch of the building that they're in, and Dwight walks up and he's like, "This is a ridiculous photo." He's like, "Where are we?" And name some planet with two suns. Why does the shadow go two directions on your building? And it criticizes her like, perspective drawing. But when I see people do this kind of stuff, I think of Dwight and how much he would criticize them. So
yeah, it's not fair to the buyer.
So, but anyway, so what this has pulled up here is it said, hey, this is a house. It's listed for $294,500. It's 2,452 square feet. It's listed for $120 a square foot. These little icons at the top are telling you like the rough stats of the house.
Right.
4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. It was built in 2020, Tomball School District, Raleigh Creek subdivision. And here we could adjust some rudimentary things. So, if you saw this house and you said, I don't think that thing's going to rent for more than $2,000, whatever you think, bang, it recalculated everything. Now over here on the right, it's telling me that this would be a 5% cap rate. The cash-on-cash return would be 2.67%. Our software is saying that the ideal hold period would be 11 to 13 years because past that, you're going to reach a point of diminishing returns where your internal rate of return and your wealth accumulation do not grow as rapidly as they were before. So you'd be better off pulling your equity out of the house, starting a new investment, and getting higher yield.
That's amazing.
So then we're telling you that over the ideal hold period of 11 to 13 years, your wealth accumulation, which would be how much your original dollars would turn into, is we're saying that your $80,000 that you would invest are going to turn into somewhere between $270,000 and $327,000.
And that's taking into account sales cost, and
everything,
maintenance cost, and everything along the way.
Everything along the way. That's all of your cash flow in and out, plus the gain on the sale. And then our stable monthly cash flow, I'll admit this is not my most favorite detail, but just because I look at some numbers doesn't mean that other people don't look at other ones. Stable monthly cash flow is saying how much this house would make if it was occupied and did not have vacancy or repairs. So it's just saying, hey, in a month where we're paying the mortgage, we're paying the taxes, we're paying the insurance.
This is how much this house is going to cost me.
And a lot of people think like that.
No, you gotta the good and the bad.
Yeah. So we have these cool little graphs. It's showing us how the internal rate of return is going to change over the years. The reason in the first couple of years it's 0 is because there's no such thing as a negative internal rate of return. And since we're going to sell it and lose money in both year 1 and year 2,
if we were to
sell it, we have no internal rate of return. It gets to year 3 before you start to get an internal rate of return.
Got it.
And then we show the cash on cash details. We show the projected appreciation of wealth. This is how we came up with this wealth accumulation here. So what it's saying is in year 10 or year 9 here, our total would be $221,000. And that would come from $28,000 of cumulative cash flow, your $79,000 of initial equity, plus $76,000 of net appreciation. That's net of sales costs, plus $35,000 of principal reduction. And then if you move on, we're going to show you what your details of your cash flow are. This is your normalized cash flow. This is year 1. Normalized is kind of more of an averaged approach. It's really the way that most people look at it. So we do give you results based on a normalized approach, but we're telling you factually, because you're going to have all of those vacancy costs and leasing commissions and everything in your first year, you will experience negative cash flow in your first year, we predict.
Because at the end of the day, it's a long game.
It's a long game. But your second year, if you scroll down a little bit, you're going to make almost $5,000. And it's not the average of the two of them. There's a little bit more science behind it than that. But it is that essentially the blending of those is that it's 2,124. I can kind of show you, if you look at the vacancy loss here, because we put in our assumptions that people are going to live there for 2 years.
Is that an average stay for your average tenant based off of
historical? Yes. We assign the value of the vacancy loss to be equal to the length of that tenant. You're not going to have $3,000 worth of vacancy every year if the house is only going to go vacant every other year. So what we do is so likewise, if I took my length of stay and changed it to 3 years, it would divide that vacancy by 3 instead of dividing it by 2. It does the same thing with leasing commissions. So there's a couple of things in there that it does that give you kind of a more intelligent approach, and also more like, we're brutally honest with our annual property data, like year 1, year 2, year 3. You would not want to buy this house if in year 1 you analyzed it and calculated your cash on cash return, and you're like, wait a second, I'm going to have negative $287.
But the realtor told me I was supposed to make money every month.
So that's a brutally honest way of forecasting cash flow, but it's not a realistic way in the market to say what the cash on cash return of a house is. So we invented normalized cash on cash return so that we could use our same complete and honest analysis, but bring it back to a way that you can talk to people and compare apples to apples with percentages that make sense. So anyway, you can see here on my financial indicators tab, I'm telling you what the cash on cash return is going to be, and you can see how it increases. And, by the time you get to year 15, this is a 9% cash on cash return. Year 25, it's a 15% cash on cash return. This house might not be ultra attractive to you, but this is what it's telling you.
Well, let's segue real quick. What will make a house not attractive? I don't want to deal with a tenant. I don't want to deal with a renter. I don't want to be responsible for repairs, make-readies, blah, 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 blah. Basically, I want the money. I don't want to be the landlord. How can you solve that problem?
So, with Brightline Property Management, we can manage your house and we can take away the pain.
And how much does that cost?
We charge $119 a month flat fee.
Flat fee,
and that's included in here, by the way, in our the analysis here is property management.
No matter whether the house is $250,000 or $1 million,
it could rent for $10,000 a month. It could rent for $1,000 a month.
Whereas most property management companies charge you a percentage. So the more expensive the house, ironically, usually the less of return in my experience, but also the greater the property management fee is.
That's exactly right.
Which isn't the case for your company.
That's exactly right. So what we do is we have a level fee. We looked at what people were paying and what we thought they were willing to pay, and we just decided, hey, look, charging a percentage when these houses can kind of get out of control with pricing, especially in our area, is just not fair.
No, it's not, because there's no more work to be done on $250,000 houses. I mean, a little bit, but from a management perspective,
it's not enough to make it worth paying twice as much money.
Correct.
When a house rents for twice as much.
Correct.
So
that's a fair model. And I think that's it's a good segue to show that you're able to provide this service for real estate investors, whether they're a mom and pop shop, they own a business, they sell it, they're like, I want to put this money into real estate, whatever, but they don't want to deal with the tenants, they don't want to deal with the headaches of owning rental properties. You have a solution that can turnkey 100%. Take your money out of a non-performing IRA, or take your money out of a business that you grew and now are looking to sell or whatever. Put it into real estate, and don't have to worry about it.
That's exactly right.
There
That's
you go.
exactly right. Yeah, no, we want to facilitate people in their interests in buying investment real estate.
Right.
Whether it's, hey, I don't want to be the guy that has to answer the phone when a pipe ruptures at 2 a.m. No problem.
No problem. We'll
I'm
be
not
that
even
guy.
the guy that answers that phone. We got a 24/7 bilingual call center that does that after hours.
Right.
But also you're the guy who says, well, I'm just really nervous. I don't know how to figure out if a house is a good investment. No problem. I would love to personally talk to you about that, but I will still use my own tool and my own knowledge, Rentlyzer, to help you understand if you're looking at 2 or 10 or 200 houses, let's figure out which one's the best for you.
Well, and you, as a business owner, have extra cash flow that you invest into your own portfolio of real estate and your own portfolio of rental houses. You're going to be able to use your own tool to help you find a better solution.
That's exactly right. Yeah, the Rentlyzer started as not named Rentlyzer, and it was an internal tool.
It was an internal tool that you use to find property for us to basically take our money and make more money with it.
That's what I wanted.
And now it's like, hey, there's something here.
Yeah, no, it's really gotten legs.
And
I mean,
the people need it.
Yeah, no, it's a real thing. I mean, we've invested an ocean of money and time and effort into this, and I think it's turned into a pretty amazing thing.
It's a great product. Show the people like more of the little tweaks and features and like.
So we
go to listing and comps.
So if you go to listing information here, it pulls over like the public description from the MLS, so you can see what they have to say. You can check out the photo gallery, complete with photoshopped power lines.
Right.
Wow. Look, they removed the power lines from the power pole, but they didn't take the power pole out.
That's crazy.
I don't even feel bad for saying these things about this listing because this is not okay.
Nope.
But it will tell you the details that are coming from the MLS. Lot size, bedrooms, bathrooms, stories. We put a few of those things at the top up here at our scoreboard, we call that. But you have a few more details over here that you can pick up on. Comps doesn't actually do anything for right now, but again, in about 2 weeks when we get our machine learning stuff on the production site, you'll get to see that. Client interaction is for me to send this to my clients. Map is pretty basic. It just is a map of the property. We're considering adding some points of interest on here, so you could see like the attendance zone of the schools where it's zoned to.
Right.
Because I think that would be an important thing to look at. We've thought about adding zip code boundaries. We've thought about adding some points of interest like parks or shopping centers. We're gonna work on that.
Well, it's complete in that a lot of people search for specific neighborhoods and specific school zones to either buy for their own house or buy for a rental home because they want their kids going to those top tier schools.
Exactly.
And so they're like, you know what? I'm going to sell my house. I'm going to rent a house in XYZ neighborhood so that they can go to that school. And you're going to be able to say, hey, you want to go to that school or you want to buy a rental house with that awesome school in there? Great. Here are the ones that go to that school.
I'll show you something that's cool also. If you go to the dashboard, I hope this works. I haven't tested this in forever. But if you type something up here in the top, it'll give you some different
ideas
about that. And I was looking for schools. So we could go to Tomball Elementary School. I mean, I'm just,
right.
There's no reason I did that other than I know these houses were in Tomball.
Right.
So I typed Tomball. Let's say that I want to see the houses that are in Tomball Elementary School. I'm going to click Run Home Search. It found 32 houses that are listed that meet my criteria that I've pre-saved into the software or the default criteria, and it says 4 of them match my investment criteria. So that's another way to do it that's even simpler. Like if you know, hey, I only want Tomball Elementary School,
right.
Type that in, bang, here's the results.
Right.
But back to this thing right here, because you had asked about the details. So this is something that, again, it's all pre-filled. We didn't type any of this stuff in here, but let's
explain that real quick.
So,
you didn't type any of that stuff. You gave the computer a model to base its metrics off of, and with using proven data from past transactions, past management, etc., it takes that, manipulates the data for that house's size, that house's area, that house's whatever, gives you these default parameters, which are, let's just call it the best guess.
Yep.
But I'm Mr. Conservative. I'm Mr. You know what, doomsday scenario, whatever. This now gives me the ability to tweak those numbers.
That's exactly right. So if you said you're Mr. Doomsday and you're like, hey, you know what? I think this is a solid house. I didn't want it to exclude it because I was too aggressive on my maintenance expenses. But instead of 7%, let's say that it's 9%. Okay, well, now we changed that we're going to assume that our maintenance is going to be more expensive than we thought, and it's 2% cash on cash return as opposed to, I think it was 4%. Let's say that you disagree with this annual property insurance and you're like, my insurance guy is no good. He charges me a lot of money. I think it's going to be $22.50.
Yeah.
So
now things like the property tax, that's actually pulling.
That's pulling. So that's, you know what? So this I'm really glad you brought that up. So we are at the mercy of the tax assessors. This house being built in 2020, it's at lot value only probably.
Right.
So that property tax on a $294,000 house in Tomball is going to probably be more like $7,500.
Yep.
So what we need to do is we need to not penalize ourselves too much with these other things by also making everything so bad.
And this is where we'll continue to tweak the software to, at the end of the day, maybe houses built prior to a full year assessment, it'll pop a flag and it'll say, hey guys, just FYI.
That's the kind of thing that there's some intelligence you can apply here. And
Right.
I think that what we need to do is we need to say, hey, if all the peers have property taxes of blank and our property tax deviates by more than 30% from the median, then flag it. I mean, I think that we should consider that. I'll make a note about that.
This is not fully done yet, but it's really close.
It's insanely close. It's close enough to use it. I mean, up until this point, look, we took this thing from running on. So John McMullen, well, yeah. So I mean, I basically, I do the analysis in Excel is what I always do to start when I used to just do things manually. But when I hired the developer, John McMullen, to do this a couple of years ago, it was living on his web server, which was a shared environment. Right. And then it got to the point that it was doing too much math and we needed our own server. And then we took it from that server to a virtualized environment, and now it runs on 4 bare metal servers plus a SSD SAN with 11 virtual machines that are running what you see here right now.
That's Japanese to me, but okay, I trust you.
It's a lot more than it was.
Right?
And so, it's funny because I'll talk to IT people and I'm like, yeah, my software does a lot of math. And they're like, yeah, math, whatever. They're like, oh, you real estate guys, this is not that hard. And it was funny, just up until a few weeks ago, this guy, another John Carew, who's been doing all the infrastructure work lately since March, he opened up the calculator file and he's called me. He's like, this thing does a lot of math. And I was like, dude, I've been trying to tell y'all that. Like, everybody tells me, oh, you don't need a powerful server to run this thing. Every time you search for a house, this thing calculates the internal rate of return for 30 years. So not only does it do it for 1 year, because a lot of people would just say, hey, what would the internal rate of return be if I owned it for 15 years? No, I'm running it for 30 years, and I'm also running it on all 1,000 houses that come back. So if you search in an area, I got to calculate the cash on cash return, the cap rate, the internal rate of return, and something else 30,000 times.
Insane.
And give you the results in a realistic amount of time that you're not going to go drive to a restaurant and eat lunch and come back and wait for your search results.
Right. You want it now, like everybody else wants it now.
Right. So, that's what part of it has been, is processing power and figuring out how to wrangle all this stuff. And it's also just been, figuring out how to get it, where it needs to be. But basically, it's here. It's ready to use. It's available to use. We're really going to be continuing to do some extreme development over the month of June. We're going to push out a lot of features. And what I'm going to be doing, so this is the Brightline podcast where I want to talk about real estate, and we're going to keep doing that. But I'm going to get on Rentlyzer Facebook page, and I'm going to do some live broadcasts as much as possible. I'll do it for 15 minutes a day, every day or every other day or something. And I'm going to show you all features, how to use it, houses that I find that I like. I'm going to show you, some new feature that rolls out. At the point that we can search by greatschools.org rating, I will definitely show you how to search by greatschools.org ratings on schools.
How would somebody go today? They're like, man, this is awesome. I want to sign up. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to use this tool. How do they do that? So
you'd go to app.rentlyzer.com and you would click on rentlyzer.com. That's right. There you go. And you'd click register here. And I'm going to have someone fix that if it doesn't work. Interesting. The register thing must be broken right now. We will fix that this morning.
We will fix that in the next 10 minutes.
And anyway, you would type in your email address and your password here if you're already a user. If not, you would register, and then you would log in and you'd start using it. And
be off to the races.
Yeah, and so again, you go to searches, add search, type in zip code 77389, let's say. And let's say you also want to see 77382 and 77375. Whatever. I don't know.
All right.
Add search parameters. We got all those. We're still going to go with our more aggressive 4-bedroom. And also, let's not get too expensive.
Let's go 300.
Let's go 300,000. Let's assume that we're going to get a great loan, but we want to be more aggressive on our IRR. Cash on cash houses are almost never, especially ones that you're searching for and trying to find, going to have like a 3 or a 4 or 5% year one cash on cash.
No.
I'm always just looking for something that's cash flow positive, so I just type 1%.
Right.
You could do 0.1% just to make sure it's cash flow positive.
Cash flow positive first year, i.e. I'm not having to feed the beast.
I don't want to feed the thing forever.
But it's going to slowly over time pay for itself, pay off its mortgage, and produce an income.
We're going to generate wealth, for sure. We're going to generate wealth. But we just typed in those 3 zip codes. We tweaked a couple of search settings as far as when it was built and the minimum bedrooms. And now if you look at all my results here on these tiles, all of them have an IRR that's higher than I searched for.
Put that screen back up on the live.
Oh, shoot.
It's you and me. Hey!
That's why we need a producer.
I know, right? Jamie Vernon from the...
Well, when Joe and Jamie move here...
Right, yeah.
I mean, if Joe's already going to be using the studio, we could get Jamie an office.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be cheap.
Yeah, Joe, we'll just hang out with you.
Right.
We can't go to Wings and More, though, unfortunately.
Oh.
Jared and I are going to go to Wings and More on 105 and drive through the drive-thru and take it to the patio on 242 and eat it.
And hopefully don't get arrested in the process for trespassing on a place that's closed.
That's true. That is true. I feel like we could call somebody and get out of that pretty swiftly.
Yeah.
So these are the results, and this is now a mixture of different zip codes and different results. And if you decided that you liked this house, you click on it.
Oh,
and here you go, Jared over there looking at the Brightline at the.
I'm seeing what's going on live to make sure anybody had any questions or anything like that.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up over here. We got people have joined.
People have joined.
That's good. That's cool.
The movement.
So anyway, and again, you can tweak this. You can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to only put 20% down because I got some sweet deal with my loan broker. Or you can say, you know what? I don't want to be over leveraged. I only want to put 50% down.
Yep.
Whatever. You can adjust that kind of stuff. You can say, oh, I think that I have a killer negotiator. I'm going to buy this thing for $280,000.
Right.
So you can do that, and you can see how everything changes.
I think that rental rate would be more like $2,450, $2,500.
I mean, this is a nice house, 2,558 square feet. It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
I can't tell if they photoshopped the power lines out of this one or not.
It doesn't look like it, and it's in the Woodlands. It's in Harper's Landing, I believe.
You got some good compositing going on these photos, though.
Nice.
I like the way the guy put the flash over here and lit that up.
Right. Morgan, the photographer, coming out right now.
That's right. I think this guy took the Mike Kelly Where Art Meets Architecture real estate photography class.
All right, go back to it. So let's just say we're at it for, let's go 2350.
Jared says 2350. And let's also assume we're not going to get a
smoking deal
8% discount on this house or whatever that would have been. So yeah, there it is, and there's all the details. So coming extremely soon is going to be PDF outputs. So that's like there's a couple of bugs that we just found the login bug, and I know of like 2 other bugs that are on here. And then they're going to have PDF outputs on Friday on the Rentlyzer Facebook page. I hope to do a live broadcast and show you the flip module. This thing has an insanely intense flip module where you can come in here and you can editing the details on a flip is pretty intense. But what it allows you to do is tell it how long you're going to have, what your after repair value is, how long you're going to have the house to sell it, like how long you plan on sitting on it from the moment you buy it till you fix it up till you actually sell it. You can choose your purchase method, whether it's cash to permanent financing, hard money loan to permanent financing, or buy it with permanent financing. So we have a system where we can tell you how much you're going to make if it's a flip only versus a flip to rent. This is an extremely robust system. You asked what makes us different. I have not seen another flip calculator that's remotely close to as powerful as this.
There you go.
None of the online analysis softwares that link up with MLSs or Zillow have flip calculators, and the one flip calculator that I know of, I saw a video of this guy demoing it 6 weeks ago, and he kept flipping back and forth between like the appraisal district and the local MLS so that he could go and find out like how many bedrooms it was and how many bathrooms it was.
And yours pulls all that data.
Our software, you type in an address, and our software will just go, here's everything we know about this house.
Right.
So,
4-bedroom, 3-bath.
And so that's a pretty slick thing. And then not only that, but you get to do your whole sliders thing. This is again, there's a couple of things that are on the app site right now that are not ready for consumption, but the MLS searching is real. It works. Use it. Reach out to me.
Tell them how you can be contacted.
So you can reach me at Morgan Cole at colerealty.com. You could message me on our Brightline Facebook page. You can message me on the Rentlyzer page. You should be able to get a hold of me, and I'd love to talk to you about our software and how you can use it. And let's get you going. So like I said, we'll be on Rentlyzer Live on Friday. I'm going to pick up doing the Brightline podcast to talk about real estate. Again, Gerod might join me as a regular guest. He could be our Jamie.
Run the show.
And
resident Googler.
But we're gonna kind of segment this out. So I'm sure we'll talk about Rentlyzer on the Brightline podcast, but we're gonna try to avoid dominating it with that, and we're gonna talk more about just
normal real estate investment and everything it encompasses.
Everything going on.
There's a lot of people right now are looking for other income streams.
They are,
and they're looking. I was listening to another podcast the other day, and it was like, if you've been waiting to do something in your life. Whether it's, quit your job or try something new or this, that, the other. Like, the time is now because things are so uncertain. Things are, your job that you thought, if I go punch that card for 30 years and I can just keep punching it for 20 more and I'll be a sure thing, and those people are getting let go, right? So I think that people can use these bad opportunities, turn them into good opportunities, and jump headfirst into real estate investing or whatever the case may be, and then see where it takes them.
I believe that you're right. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of investing in real estate. You are too. It is a long game. You cannot realistically be the guy that retires in 2 years from buying 18 houses because he's some savant like you see on these articles and TV and stuff. But
you could make a full-time living out of using the flip module. You make a full-time living out of go get your real estate license. You have family with money, or you have neighbors with money or whatever, and they're like, hey, you got a real estate license. This is a tool.
Yep.
Go take that tool and go to your customer base or your investor base and say, hey, guys, using this tool, I think y'all should buy these houses. And you know what? You get paid both ways.
It's coming. I mean, investing in real estate heats up when times get tough, when people assume that people are going to be losing their jobs and things are going to be changing. And I think that realtors are going to be approached by clients who are looking for good deals, and our software
it weeds out the good deals versus the bad.
Another thing coming soon is pre-foreclosure data. I wasn't going to mention it, but I think at the end of the month is when we'll have the ability to search for homes that have a pre-foreclosure flag on them, and
then you could be a wholesaler who scoops in and makes a cash offer, saves the day for that person in foreclosure, but also gets a smoking deal on a house.
That's right.
Well,
that's right.
You're giving away the secret sauce, which is great, to the masses, and they can take that secret sauce and run with it, and it's kind of like your mom had a molasses cookie. Back to the cookies. So your mom had a molasses cookie recipe growing up, and went to college. She would deliver molasses cookies. I would eat them all. And I got the best wedding present ever, which was his mom gave me the molasses cookie recipe for my wedding present.
And now
because it was a family secret. It was like, oh, we're not going to.
Gerod, so I grew up with cookies in the house that were really good cookies, and like we would have one cookie each after dinner. And I was like, that's fine, great, one cookie. These are normal sized cookies that you'd make at home. And so I went to college, and like my mom would send us a box of cookies or something, and Gerod would eat like 8 of them in one sitting. And I'm like, that's a week's worth of cookies.
Cookie Monster. And now my wife's biggest or biggest hobby is cooking. She's actually baking right now. So
that's great.
Yeah. So
that's great.
The Cookie Monster strikes again. But you're giving everyone your ingredients, your family recipe, if you will, to make their own cookie. Their own cookie portfolio.
You can make your own cookie portfolio, and we're going to keep improving it, and we're going to be here to help you figure out how to build that portfolio.
Awesome.
So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Reach out to me if you have questions. I can't wait to get people to start using this thing. I'm delighted that it's live and it's working, and we're going to keep working on it for you. So, everybody, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
We're out.
You're listening to the Brightline Podcast, where we talk about investment real estate, business, and many other interesting topics. Brought to you by Brightline Property Management. Brightline Property Management is a professional residential property management company located in the Woodlands, Texas, serving the northern Houston area. Additionally, brought to you by Rentlyzer, the MLS-driven investment home analyzer. Sign up today at brightlinepodcast.com/Rentlyzer. That's RENTLYZER. The Brightline Podcast is produced at Studio 110 in the Woodlands, Texas, the premier studio in the Woodlands. Check out the show's website at brightlinepodcast.com, where you can subscribe, contact, and sign up for our newsletter. That's brightlinepodcast.com. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoy our show.